交通已经堵塞了呢。
Thousands take to the streets in fury over alleged cover-up of teenager's death. Eyewitnesses reveal inside story of deadly fire in Jiangxi that killed 39 people. Chinese Berklee student on trial in U.S. for threats against democracy supporter. China's media crisis, era of announcements signals severe press freedom decline. China's reported 5.2% economic growth sparks skepticism amidst statistical fraud. Thousands take to the streets in fury over alleged cover-up of teenager's death. There are many suspicious details surrounding the death of 18-year-old Zhang Xinwei from Guanyin County, Lianyangdan City, Jiangxi Province. After the authorities hastily concluded it was a suicide, they blocked off access to the victim's village but were still unable to contain public outrage. Online videos show that thousands of people gathered at the village entrance to support the victim's family. On January 24th, online videos showed large crowds blocking the roads leading to Zhangbaoshan village in Guanyin County, with an estimated several thousand people present. The person filming claimed more people were still arriving. At least hundreds of police officers lined the perimeter of the village on standby. According to later information, the police used violence against the protesting crowds. On January 23rd, a video showed police intercepting people who came from other areas to support the family. A man said he offered to hand over his phone to the police for safekeeping and only wanted to go in to see the child's parents, but the police still refused entry. Zhang Xinwei disappeared on December 9, 2022. In his suicide note, he accused his ex-girlfriend of bullying him at school. Zhang's father has been petitioning online for authorities to investigate and hold responsible parties accountable. On January 14th, authorities claimed Zhang Xinwei's corpse was fished out from a river, but his family posted videos pointing out many suspicious details at the retrieval scene. None of the dozens of professional rescue teams across China found the body earlier, yet a local rescue team formed just 3 days ago pulled out the corpse. The family was not notified during the retrieval and hundreds of police were deployed to block them from getting close, just an hour after the body was pulled out. A civic-minded citizen surnamed Wu sent a banner to thank the rescue team. Although the face was bloated, the arms did not show signs of swelling as would be expected for a body immersed in water for over 30 days. On January 19th, the Guanyin County Public Security Bureau in Lianyangdan City released a statement dismissing homicide and bullying as causes of death, claiming Zhang Xinwei took his own life over relationship troubles. At the same time, authorities began censoring discussion online and blocked access to Zhangbaoshan village that night. They also broke into the Zhang family home to seize phones and other devices used for live streaming their petitions. The suspicious death of a child has struck a nerve among many Chinese people. Netizens continue to follow the case and question the true cause of the child's death, condemning local authorities for covering up culpability. Eyewitnesses reveal inside story of deadly fire in Jiangxi that killed 39 people. On the afternoon of January 24th, a fire broke out in shops along the street in Xi'an City, Jiangxi Province, leaving 39 dead and 9 injured. Eyewitnesses said many people jumped from buildings to escape, with most of the survivors being students. Most were students. It was an institute offering associate to bachelor degree transfer programs. I saw many escaping were around 19 or 20 years old. Some escaped on their own, some were rescued by firefighters, an eyewitness said. He said there was a very strong smell of something burnt at the scene. The fire started on the second floor and produced thick smoke. Many jumped down from upstairs to escape. Ambulances kept arriving that afternoon for ongoing rescue efforts. Nearby the burnt shops were internet cafes, a supermarket, and upstairs were game rooms, tutoring centers, and hostels. An internet user who survived the fire stated, "The training institute upstairs had sealed windows." With the only exit surrounded by flames, many associate degree students in the transfer program failed to escape in time. Some videos show escape victims shouting, "There are still dozens inside." Mr. Jiang, who previously ran shops in the building, said there were 2 internet cafes inside. The internet cafe patrons evacuated, but several dozen students were in class at the Associate Degree Transfer Coaching Institute upstairs, which only had one stairway exit. Unfortunately, the fire completely engulfed the stairwell and there were no other fire escapes, making it very difficult for the students to get out. Another resident who had been to the coaching institute said a 30-square-meter room could seat 50 to 60 people. The stairway was very narrow. It would be very hard to get out if anything happened. A fire survivor nicknamed Xiaoping said he was in the first-floor internet cafe around 3 p.m. when he noticed smoke coming from 2 basement access paths, so he immediately called the police. There were many people upstairs. Some even tossed mattresses down to jump onto to escape. One eyewitness said she saw people trying to escape from the third-floor internet cafe when the fire broke out. A nearby shop owner, Mr. Zhang, alias, said his niece was taking extra lessons at the coaching institute. After being rescued from the fire, the girl was sent to a hospital where her father anxiously awaits by the entrance. Mr. Zhang said he passed by the site around 4 p.m. to see thick smoke spewing from the basement, hearing people crying for help. Many onlookers had gathered by then as police cordoned off the area. According to the Weishui District Committee official WeChat account, rescue efforts wrapped up at 8:50 p.m. on January 24 with no one left trapped at the scene. The fire has caused 39 deaths, 9 injuries, and 1 person undergoing emergency rescue. As the CCP habitually covers up real accident details, outside observers suspect the actual number of casualties may be higher. Local police claimed initial investigations identified the fire started in a basement cold storage unit due to construction workers violating regulations, with 12 responsible parties now detained. Chinese Berklee student on trial in U.S. for threats against democracy supporter. The trial recently began for Wu Xiaolei, a Chinese international student at the Berklee College of Music in Boston, who was charged with harassment for threatening a female student who put up posters supporting China's pro-democracy movement. He allegedly threatened to cut off her hands and report her to the Chinese Communist Party, CCP. The 25-year-old Wu Xiaolei was indicted on 1 count of cyberstalking and 1 count of interstate threats. On January 22, the case proceeded to trial in a Boston federal court. Assistant U.S. Attorney Porter told the jury that Wu threatened to cut off Zoe's hands online and claimed he had reported her reactionary posters to the CCP, causing Zoe to fear for her safety and that of her family back in China. Porter said these were serious threats because the CCP does not allow the speech expressed in Zoe's posters and in fact actively suppresses dissenting voices. Jia Lide, executive chairman of the China Democracy Party youth group, said, "As a student who has spent many years in the free world, his behavior goes against civilized norms. His mindset still follows the CCP's ideology and theories from top to bottom. It's possible he belongs to a vested interest group or is a victim of CCP brainwashing, working to help the CCP maintain stability and legitimacy while persecuting pro-democracy activists." Wu Xiaolei's lawyer, Tambo Ski, argued his client is not a CCP agent but rather an awkward bookworm who discussed Zoe's poster using his own misguided way. Jia lied, but this constitutes serious violent threats regardless of whether he intended to act on them. He publicized her email and home address with all kinds of intimidation. Thankfully, the FBI caught this in time, otherwise I think it could have led to serious bodily harm. According to the indictment, in October 2022, Zoe put up flyers near Berklee College including messages like "Stand with the Chinese people" and "We want freedom, we want democracy." Wu Xiaolei then began stalking and harassing Zoe, sending threatening messages via WeChat, email, and Instagram. He also publicly posted Zoe's school mailbox and home address online. Shortly after, Berklee College suspended Wu Xiaolei for 1 year. On December 14, 2022, the FBI arrested Wu Xiaolei, who was released on bail that night. A final pretrial hearing was held on January 18 this year. On January 22 and 23, Zoe took the stand to testify. Jiangxi believes the Wu Xiaolei case is a landmark, watershed case. Jiangxi, if he gets a harsh sentence, it will surely deter a large number of CCP overseas agents, political proxies, and other pro-CCP individuals. This can avoid more incidents like the attack on me, as well as more online death threats and various intimidation tactics. It protects our safety from the CCP's long-arm jurisdiction and transnational suppression. Prosecutors say Wu Xiaolei faces up to 5 years in prison, 3 years supervised release, and a $250,000 fine for the stalking and harassment charges. The final verdict will be decided by a U.S. District Court judge. China's media crisis, era of announcements signals severe press freedom decline. Peng Yuanwen, former deputy general manager of our video at the Beijing News, recently wrote an article lamenting how the space for news in China has narrowed over the years, with news entering an era of announcements. Even major news often lacks media coverage, while official announcements have become an important yet opaque information channel. The article was taken down less than a day after publishing. According to Central News Agency, on January 22, Peng Yuanwen wrote on WeChat about how Chinese media has gradually retreated from news scenes in recent years. He stated that the so-called era of announcements means everyone is waiting for the announcement and there is no news, only announcements. He cited the chained woman case in Feng County, Suzhou City, Jiangxi Province in February 2022 as an example. This incident drew nationwide attention for over a month, yet media was almost completely absent, just waiting daily for official updates. In the end, left with no choice, the public could only conduct their own investigations, with some detained and others deleted soon after publishing findings. The January 2022 chained woman case in Jiangxi shocked China and the world, as a woman with an iron chain around her neck remarkably gave birth to 8 children despite family planning policies. It involved human trafficking, domestic violence, and local clan forces shielding crimes, sparking public outrage. While authorities issued around 5 announcements, they were filled with contradictions and doubts, with many mysteries surrounding the Feng County case still unresolved until today. Another landmark case cited was the April 2022 Shanghai lockdown amidst surging COVID-19 cases. This lockdown, confining over 25 million residents, sourced almost exclusively from official notices, with original media coverage basically non-existent. It's not that media failed to play a watchdog role, they couldn't even report on mistakes that already occurred, let alone correct them. This signifies Chinese news has thoroughly entered the era of announcements. In addition, the article referenced incidents during the pandemic such as a bus crash in Guizhou that killed 27 and a hospital fire in Beijing this April. Peng pointed out almost no photos or videos from the scene could be found online prior to official statements. He said now for any remotely sensitive news event in China, there is a blanket ban on reporting without official announcements. Just days before Peng's article, comments by Lu Pengfei, director of Shandong radio and TV station, at a media forum also drew doubts over Chinese media responsibility. Lu stated that Shandong station's Lightning News platform never conducts cross-provincial public opinion oversight. We never laugh at others' mistakes. We never disseminate anything in gray areas, only spreading positive energy. Peng believed director Lu deserved condemnation but shouldn't be singled out. In reality, most local stations had long stopped producing news. For instance, with the January 19 dorm fire in Nanyang, Hunan that killed 13 students, Hunan media didn't even publish fire department notices. An article originally published then deleted from Tsinghua University law professor Lao Dongyan's Weibo on January 22 pointed out media should have sent reporters to the fire scene to fulfill oversight duties, examining whether fire safety codes were followed, and at minimum determining the cause of the fire. Yet afterwards, very few media conducted interviews, search results were briefly trending before being removed, and netizens commented, 13 lives weren't worth one trending topic, and what good are media outlets if they just wait for official announcements? Peng raised the question and pointed out another key phenomenon: as media increasingly avoids news scenes and produces less original reporting, the followers and influence of Weibo official accounts grow bigger and bigger, signifying massive public power expansion alongside synchronized media atrophy. According to Reporters Without Borders' 2023 World Press Freedom Index released in May, out of 180 countries and regions, Norway, Ireland, and Denmark ranked top 3, with China second to last ahead of only North Korea. Cedric Albiani, East Asia Bureau Director at Reporters Without Borders, directly attributed this to the CCP's extreme repression and control over domestic media. The Committee to Protect Journalists January 18, 2024, RAI update shows China remains the world's biggest captor of journalists, with 44 reporters arrested in 2022 alone. China's reported 5.2% economic growth sparks skepticism amidst statistical fraud. The Chinese Communist Party, CCP, recently announced a 2023 economic growth rate of 5.2%, which seems disproportionate to China's lackluster economic data for the whole year. This has led to doubts about the reliability of the numbers and skepticism that the CCP has emerged from economic troubles. To dispel outside doubts, the National Bureau of Statistics declared it would make statistical fraud subject to party disciplinary action. This move has led some to believe that the authorities are falsifying data on one hand while cracking down on fraud with the other, a manifestation of how power operates. On January 17, the CCP announced a December youth unemployment rate of 14.9%, claiming this came from new statistical methods. But the veracity of these modified numbers is widely questioned. The new data was released as authorities were promoting a rosy outlook for China's economy. The Wall Street Journal cited Hang Seng Bank chief economist Wang Dan, who said adjusting the calculation methods at this time could further undermine public trust in official data. Meanwhile, amid underperforming economic indicators in China last year, Premier Li Keqiang announced at the World Economic Forum in Davos a 2023 GDP growth target of around 5.5%. Liang Xiaohua, former chief compliance officer at a Chinese asset management company, very few people in China actually believe the high growth figures. There is also a long history of statistical fraud, reminiscent of past memories like exaggerated crop yields, catching up with and surpassing the UK and US in 3 to 5 years. Everyone is inclined to polish up GDP numbers for performance evaluation, so this is common behavior. To dispel outside doubts about the numbers, just days after their release, the National Bureau of Statistics declared it would make statistical fraud subject to party disciplinary action. Liang Xiaohua, many CCP decisions are implicit rather than explicitly calling for fraud. But top leaders set targets that lower levels then feel compelled to meet, while laws and audits supposedly prohibit fraud, but those take a backseat to the bigger picture, which is currently portrayed as positive economic growth overriding everything else. Statistical fraud is rampant and economic data widely questioned in China. Comments point out the 5.2% growth as the latest example. Taiwanese economist Wu Jialong, the central government and local governments have huge fiscal deficits. So now they want to attract foreign capital by claiming the economy is still good, hence the cooked-up 5.2% growth rate. Then statistics bureaus coordinate for local areas to report certain numbers that meet targets and goals. It's called data engineering, piecing together numbers to tell international investors the environment here remains appealing for continued investment. Despite dubious credibility, local officials routinely falsify numbers to polish up track records. Last December, the National Bureau of Statistics reported fraud issues in 5 provinces including Jiangxi, where some counties even saw officials intervening in data as precision scheduling. Wu Jialong, The central government wants localities to fake the numbers, then catches a few scapegoats to demonstrate data reliability since they're cracking down on fraud. Historically, in feudal dictatorships, the imperial court relied on corrupt officials to conduct affairs, so it had to tolerate corruption while making examples of some major cases to claim it was paying attention. The inherent logic of power allows corruption on one hand and cracking down on the other, just as there is data falsification occurring alongside punishing selective instances of it.